Welcome to our space of hope, inspiration, where faith is kindled, and the Word of God meets us right where we are. Thank you for being here, and for allowing us to walk with you. Imagine you're standing in front of a mirror, not a bathroom mirror, not a cell phone mirror with a filter, but one of those old-fashioned mirrors, the ones that seem to see beyond your face. And in that reflection, you don't just see your face. You see your doubts, your fears, the times you said, "I can't," the sleepless nights thinking, "What if it fails?" The dreams you put away because it wasn't the right time, or because you're not enough. And right there, in the midst of that awkward silence, a voice rings out with a clarity you didn't expect. For God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and love and self-control. It's not a shout, it's an affirmation. It's not a command, it's a revelation. As if someone were saying to you, what you think you are is not all that you are. Because cowardice is not your essence. Fear is not your identity. Paralysis is not your destiny. What you carry inside is not a spirit that trembles before the unknown. It's a spirit that transforms the unknown into possibility. Today we live in an age of anxiety disguised as productivity. We wake up to our cell phone alarm, and before we open our eyes, we are already checking emails, messages, and to-dos. We're sold the idea that to be valuable, we must always be active, always ready, always perfect. But deep down, many of us walk around with a silent trembling. Fear of rejection, fear of failure, fear of not being loved if we show who we truly are, fear of making the wrong decision and ruining everything. And so, little by little, we shut down parts of ourselves. We silence our ideas. We postpone our dreams. We make ourselves small so as not to be disruptive, so as not to fail, so as not to expose ourselves. But what we don't know is that by doing this, we are being unwise. We are betraying the gift we have been given. Because God did not give you a spirit of cowardice. No. He gave you power. Not the power to dominate others, but the power to get up when you fall. The power to say yes when everything in you screams no. The power to believe in yourself, even when no one else does. He gave you love. Not a weak, complacent, or dependent love, but a courageous love. The kind of love that takes risks, that forgives when it hurts, that chooses the good, even if it costs, that surrenders without losing itself. And He gave you self-control. Not rigid control, nor obsessive perfection, but the ability to govern your emotions without them governing you, to choose your response, even when the world pushes you to react, to breathe before exploding, to be silent before hurting, to wait before giving up. Power, love, and self-control. 3 pillars that support a life that doesn't let itself be dragged down by fear. But here's the problem. Many confuse the absence of fear with courage, and that's a mistake. Courage isn't not being afraid. Courage is acting despite fear. It is feeling the trembling in your hands and signing anyway, but with open eyes, an alert heart, and a discerning mind. Because true courage not only advances, but also is protected. It is not fooled by easy promises, miraculous attacks, or voices selling baseless dreams. Authentic courage walks with faith and with wisdom. It is having a racing heart and taking the first step. It is doubting 1,000 times and choosing to trust once again, not with blindness, but with discernment. Because trusting is not believing anything, but believing in what has proven to be true, faithful, and worthy of your faith. And that balance between hope and prudence, is where the courage that not only advances, but also sustains, is born. And that is exactly what this verse reminds you of. You are not alone in that struggle. You are not unarmed. You are not condemned to live in isolation. What you need is already within you. You don't have to look for it outside. You don't need more likes, more titles, more approval. You need to remember who you are and whose you are. Think about this. How many times have you said no to an opportunity? Not because you didn't want it, but because you were afraid of not being up to it. How many times have you kept the truth to yourself because you feared the consequences? How many times have you pretended to be okay so as not to be a burden? That's not caring. That's fear disguised as responsibility. And fear, when disguised, becomes more dangerous because we believe we're doing the right thing, when in reality we're running away from our purpose. But today, you can choose differently. Today, you can recognize, yes, I'm afraid, but I'm not going to let it decide for me. Yes, I hesitate, but I'm not going to let it paralyze me. Yes, it failed, but I'm not going to let it define my future, because you weren't given a spirit of cowardice. And how do you activate that spirit of power, love, and self-control? Not with shouting, not with self-deception, not with motivational quotes stuck on the refrigerator, but with small, daily, consistent decisions. Deciding to speak honestly, even if you tremble. Deciding to rest, even if the world tells you to produce more. Deciding to forgive yourself, even if you still see your mistakes. Deciding to trust, even if you don't see the whole path. Each of these decisions is an act of faith, not only in God, but in yourself. Because when you choose to live from power, love, and self-control, you are saying, I believe I am more than my fears. And here comes the most beautiful thing. That spirit isn't just for you. It's for others too. When you live without cowardice, you inspire others to do the same. When you love courageously, you give others permission to love without masks. When you exercise self-control, you show that it is possible to live with integrity in a chaotic world. Your life becomes a beacon, not because you're perfect, but because you choose to walk with the light, even in the darkness. Imagine that God gave you a magic backpack the day you were born. Inside that backpack, there are no toys or candy, but there are 3 super powerful gifts. The first gift is power. Not the power to fly or move mountains with your mind, but the power to be brave when you're afraid, to try again even if you've fallen, and to say I can when your inner voice says I can't. The second gift is love. Not just the love of hugging your family or your pet, but the love that helps you be kind even when others aren't, to forgive when someone hurts you, and to take care of yourself when you feel sad or wrong. And the third gift is self-control. That sounds a little weird, right? But it's like having a steering wheel inside you. When you get really angry, you can breathe and not scream. When you want to eat the whole cake, you can wait your turn. When everyone runs without thinking, you can stop, think, and choose well. God didn't give you a spirit of fear. That is, He didn't make you to live scared, hidden, or silent. He made you to shine with power, love with an open heart, and decide wisely. So the next time you feel fear, remember your magic backpack. Because inside you already have everything you need, and God is with you, always. Now breathe. Feel this in your chest. You are not broken. You are not behind. You are not alone. God didn't give you a spirit of cowardice. He gave you everything you need to live with courage, with tenderness, and with wisdom. And if today you need a reminder, if you need a space where you can heal, grow, and remember who you are, I have an invitation for you. Join the Gokrip channel. At Gokrip, you won't find empty speeches or impossible promises. You'll find words that heal, reflections that awaken, and practical tools to live from your true identity. A place where fear is not your enemy, but neither is it your master. Where you will learn to walk with power, love without fear, and govern yourself with grace. Subscribe, activate the bell, and be part of a community that is choosing, every day, to live not from cowardice, but from the spirit that God has already placed within them. Because you were not made to hide. you are made to shine. And as the word says, "For God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind." That truth is for you. Today, now, always. Thank you for reading this far. If this message resonated with you, share it. Someone else needs to hear it. Subscribe to the Gokrip channel, because your courage changes the world. We will tell 2 stories. The air smelled of burnt wood and cold sweat. It was 1555 in London, and Queen Mary I had unleashed a hunt against those who dared to translate or read the Bible in the language of the people. Marian martyrs were burned at the stake, their lives extinguished by the cowardice of those who feared the truth. Thomas Hawes, a young printer who secretly distributed pamphlets with Bible passages, was hiding in the cellar of a friendly house. Upstairs, the guard's boots echoed on the cobblestone street. Only a thin plank separated his refuge from the search. He could hear the screams of the terrified people. Thomas was shivering, not from the cold, but from a fear that stung his eyes, dried his throat. His mind was screaming, "Surrender! Burn the pamphlets!" In her lap, she held a small English Bible. Her trembling finger stopped on a few words. "For God has not given us a spirit of fear." The sentence was like a lightning bolt in the darkness of the basement. Fear is a poison, she thought. The bonfire could only burn her body, but fear could burn her soul and the hope of an entire people. Then she activated the triad. 1. Power. She got on her knees. She felt the trembling in her body not disappear, but it became firm. It was the power of choice, choosing truth over life. 2. Love. He thought of the mothers who needed to read about God's mercy, of the children growing up without the hope of Scripture. His love for the gospel and for his neighbors was greater than his instinct for self-preservation. That love gave him an icy peace, a courage that was not blind, but profound. 3. Self-control. He breathed. With now steady hands, he picked up a pamphlet and a pen. As the guards kicked down nearby doors, he wrote a short message of encouragement, quoting the same verse, planning to drop it through a crack when it was safe. He didn't run away. He stayed and kept working. Minutes later, the patrol car passed by, unable to find him. But Thomas's moment of truth wasn't when he emerged unharmed. It was in the darkness of the basement, when he chose the spirit of power, love, and self-control over cowardice. He chose to remain a light, a channel for the word, in the midst of terror. That night, Thomas didn't just save her life. And that small decision, prompted by a verse, was a tiny spark that, combined with others, helped ignite the flame of faith that changed the face of England. The Jesus in the mouth. And you, which spirit would you choose in your basement? That of cowardice or that of the triad? Elena sat in front of her laptop screen, the blue light projecting over her glasses. It was 3 a.m., and cold coffee was keeping her company. In front of her, a blank Word document with the title, Graduate Thesis, Chapter 1, Introduction. It had been 3 weeks like this. 3 weeks of total paralysis. Elena was one of the most brilliant minds in her cohort, but fear had turned her into a prisoner of her own excellence. Her internal dialogue was an implacable judge. Your idea is good, but there are already 100 better articles. If you don't write it perfectly now, you'll get criticized. Better wait. Tomorrow, you'll be more inspired. Tomorrow, you'll be smarter. It was cowardice disguised as perfectionism. One night, exhausted and on the verge of tears, she remembered a phrase her grandmother had written on a postcard. "Daughter, don't stop. You were not made in a spirit of cowardice." Elena closed her eyes and leaned back, feeling the emptiness of fear. At that moment, the voice of the verse echoed in her mind, not as a criticism, but like the instruction manual she had forgotten, but of power, of love, and of self-control. She realized she didn't have to be perfect. She just had to get started. Self-control was turning off the voice of the judge and turning on the voice of the writer. An order was given. Write for 10 minutes. She wrote the most obvious, simple, and ugliest sentence she could think of. The knot in her chest loosened. She had broken the paralysis. Love, self-pity. The next morning, she read her clumsy beginning, and instead of criticizing herself, she treated herself with love. She told herself, "This is enough for today. I'm going to rest." Her self-love gave her permission to be human and fallible. Power, consistency. That day, she didn't write 10 hours. She wrote 30 minutes. The next day, 45. She wasn't looking for the power of immediate genius, but the power of consistent discipline. True power is showing up to work even when you don't feel like it. A week later, chapter 1 was ready. It wasn't perfect, but it was real. Fear was still whispering, but it was no longer the captain of the ship. Elena not only finished her thesis on time, he discovered that his greatest achievement wasn't the degree, but rather the daily conquest of his own spirit of cowardice. He had traded the fear of failure for the power of imperfect action, sustained by love and self-discipline. The Jesus in the mouth. How many brilliant ideas do you have trapped in the blank document of your life? What dream are you waiting for? Tomorrow, out of fear. Guided exercise, triad activation. Exercise, the cowardice protocol, 5 minutes. This exercise is designed to confront your fear. Identify cowardice, the paralyzing fear. Name an important task, goal, or conversation you've been consistently putting off out of fear or insecurity. Example, starting that business, asking for a raise, having that difficult conversation, recording that video. Define the spirit of cowardice, the message of fear. What does that fear tell you? Write the toxic dialogue here. You are not good enough. You will fail, and everyone will laugh. It is better to stay still. Apply the replacement triad, self-control, love, and power. Now, for each element of fear, write a clear order of action using the given forces. Fear says, cowardice, your response. 2 Timothy 1:7. I am not enough. Love, I give myself permission to fail. My worth does not depend on my success. Self-control, I will breathe, calm my pulse, and focus only on the task at hand, not on opinions. I have to be perfect. Power. I take the first step, the most ridiculously small one, right now. The power is in the movement, not in the perfection. The last step of power. Now, go and take that first tiny step you have identified. Only that one. Show your mind that you have self-control and the power to begin. Courage follows action. If this message touched your heart, like it. Help others find it. Subscribe to Gokrip. It doesn't just inspire, it transforms. Leave your request in the comments. We're praying for you. You are not alone.